Welcome to the Enlightened Humanity Circle Spiritual Rave, where you are listening to listening to loads of ways to access your own information. My name is Bonnie Sachs, and I'm here with Lily Winza.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Together, we created the Eighth Chakra Company in order to help people get in touch with their innate wisdom and what it means to be human. And today we are here with Dr. Alison Kay.
Hi.
And Dr. Alison is the founder of the Vibrational Upgrade System, and she is a subtle energies expert. We are so excited to have you here today, Dr. Alison.
I'm so excited to be with you all. This is a great theme, a great summit. I'm really excited.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's just jump right in since we just have a short period of time. You know, we know that you have been doing a lot of work with the chakras and with Qigong and lots of fun things. We're wondering if you can give us a little bit of the juicy pieces of your life that got you from where you started to where you are now.
Well, I entered into my undergraduate program as a psych major. My mom, who I was really close with, had suggested I do that at like age 12, and it felt right. And so I said yes, and there I was. And 3 semesters into it, I was horrified by how little I was learning about what makes us as happy as we possibly can be. And so I changed majors into studying society from a political level, and then into English literature to study psychology and society, but through an art form. So that's what my bachelor's ended up being in. And you fast forward now, like about a decade later, and I had been a political consultant and got my master's in politics, and realized the machine of the system was just too big at that time, that I stepped out and saw that if change were going to happen for humanity, one by one was what was going to be the way to do it. And this is ironically the same time Gore stepped out of politics and started with An Inconvenient Truth that got him the Nobel Prize. So I relied on my bachelor's in English literature and began to teach in the classroom, and at the same time so let me back up. When I was a political consultant, it was really successful what I was doing. We helped get people like Barbara Boxer and Nancy Pelosi, the current Speaker of the House, elected, and it was really stressful. And so I said, and how does it get any better than this? And I was walking in a bookstore within a month, and a book fell at my feet about meditation. So I started to learn to meditate back in my early 20s, and then I began to teach it a year later. So now, fast forward, and I have graduated with the master's in politics, made that decision that change happened one by one, and started teaching in the classroom, but then got energy medicine certifications in trainings to accompany the meditation. So I started doing one-on-one sessions with people, and I remember sitting at my kitchen table one day, and I was horrified again by my bills and my checkbook and my account balance. And I said, I'm not meant to struggle like this. I'm doing real good in the world. I'm really helping people. It shouldn't be the fight. And all I had were basic needs. But at that time, it was organic produce, which was more expensive, and a weekly massage, and just basic housing and cars. So that wasn't good enough. So I said, okay, I know we're not meant to struggle. I heard this voice in me that said, you are meant for more. And so I started asking what else is possible. And within a month's time, I got introduced to what would take me overseas teaching for 10 years. And I chose to go to Asia. I had job offers in Brazil and in Istanbul and in Lebanon, all these different places. And I chose Asia to understand how energy worked. And I got my insides up, flipped inside out, stood on head. I mean, it's so opposite of our most unconscious training. And and remaining conscious and present with that reforming of like, even everything is as it appears to be. Sure, we can label it and say that's what it is, but it's actually the opposite. So learning to live from energy and the eternal part of us first, and then the physical as secondary, was the primary teaching I got there. And so I learned Qigong there. I went to India during a break, trained in yoga teacher training and certification there, just immersed myself in holistic studies about how energy runs in the body, and became, from one-on-one sessions, really known around the island in Taiwan as that Waigoran, which means foreigner in Chinese, who does those energy medicine sessions. And so I eventually got pulled out of Taiwan. It was really weird the way it was a bigger guiding force. So I come back to the States in 2010. So I left 2 years after 9/11 and came back 2 years into Obama's first administration. So I was removed from the country during a really pivotal time. And I was tucked away in Asia. I had increased my net cash flow by 60%, having lots of fun and adventure, not feeling that trapped feeling of, you're kidding me, I'm going to spend decades of my life just working? No. I want fun. I want more. I want adventure. It's supposed to be more. And I got that. And so I got yanked out of Taiwan and back to the States. And I was really surprised. I didn't recognize my country. And my heart was breaking a lot of the time in the first 2 years of being back in the States for the pain I felt here, but also for how much we're trained to come from the mind here compared to come from energy and softness in the heart. In Asia, not to say that everybody is in the heart over there and we're all heady over here. I'm just using it to describe a contrast, but please don't think that I'm saying a black and white statement, because that's not what I'm saying. It was contrast. There's a softness because they operate from energy and a collective model that I lived immersed with them for 10 years, that over here, we're independent, we're individualistic, not collective. So we fire away what our thoughts are. And it's kind of startling in contrast. So learning how to work with energy as the primary aspect of life and not the mind and not the personality was one of the main nuggets I got over there. And energy medicine, I had to create a system named Vibrational Upgrade System because I knew so much, and the outcomes for my clients were just phenomenal and continue to get better every day. Even while I'm back here, it amazes me. So I got offered about a year being back here a gig in America. That she said, we need someone to talk about the new energy coming in 2012, the alignment that the Mayans predicted. And I said, I'm not focusing on that. Why would I be the person? And so I thought about it, and it felt like such a yes. It was another piece of that kind of synchronicity that came into my life. And I started interviewing all these scientists around the 2012 galactic alignment, as well as the scientists I quoted in my first book that have measured energy and subtle energy and were the front runners of proving the existence of energy and how energy flows. So I started to get really educated. Those people are already quoted in my first book, but I started to get really educated by the scientists about what the 2012 December 21st alignment really meant. And I ended up being the energy medicine practitioner and yoga teacher on a cruise going to the Mayan ruins in 2012. And we had special access to a Mayan shaman right there at the pyramids on the day of the alignment, and it was phenomenal. So I understand pulled back from Asia to be in America to help this country specifically, but I work with people around the world, but there's this unique aspect to America in helping usher in this whole new energy paradigm that's started in 2012 and is a 20-year window to 2032. And yeah, I hope that so here I am today with you guys. Glad to be here.
You are such a powerhouse. You have so much energy, and the energy that is coming off of you, I'm just like, I suddenly feel like it's really cold in here. And, you know, here we all sit in Florida, so it's not cold at all. But I think that is absolutely awesome. And you do have some juicy information in there. So thank you. And if you could take just a couple minutes to share about how you help other people access their own information. There's a lot of meat there for you to take apart. But if you could find a couple things there that you really think are important to help people access their own information.
Well, you can hear in my story how I had guidance come blasting through. And those were just a couple of, like 2 or 3 examples. I live from my guidance. I can't not take my guidance I've never, even as a girl in her teens and 20s, I've lived from that listening and that alignment. I was a journal writing as a girl in my teens, really connecting in with the higher self. And that's one of the things I love to turn my people on. I have a 90-day program that's called manifestation, money flow. And one of the key tools I teach them is something I taught in the classroom to loosen up the mental noise, especially if somebody complains about, I can't meditate, which is really frequently said in America. I've tried it and my mind got all noisy. Well, that's exactly what's going to happen. So like the expectation that we sit down and we practice meditation and we get quiet, it's actually the exact opposite, because we're becoming more mindful of just what our mind is doing in a moment-to-moment, day-to-day basis, and how off the charts it is with the stuff that just the thoughts that we then live from and react from. So to sit in meditation, actually observing what our mind is doing on a day-to-day basis, it's really funny because when I teach my yoga meditation class, and raw who have not learned meditation, to watch them take the first 5 minutes, because I've been teaching meditation for 20 to kids, to adults, all ages, and feeling them do that, go through that experience of the first 5 minutes of seeing how loud their mind is and getting uncomfortable and trying to settle down and switching their body position. And there's eventually a point that being in my presence, I know, and as well as the presence of some of my more advanced students who are regulars, they eventually are able to drop. And it's really funny to watch how quickly versus how long it takes certain people to drop. And then they're like, oh, wow. Getting access to a space beyond their mind. Like I was saying, I lived from in Asia, like learning to live from beyond the thoughts commanding the ship here, but realizing that there's actually a space between the thoughts and who we are. Because if we can observe our mind thinking, then that means there's something else doing the observing. So who are we really? So I love to turn people onto that and experientially and help them walk through that process. It was my first tool that I picked up, and then it's my first favorite tool to turn people on. And ironically, it's the cheapest product on my website. But I think it's like the most valuable tool. It's weird. You know, so like the Chakra Attunement audio series is my premier product on my website, and that one is more money, and that one's life-changing too, but it's me doing the clearings for people. So the perception is because my expertise and my energy is coming in and clearing them and they're receiving it, the value is increased, right?
Right.
So we're talking about learning to access our own wisdom. And that's number one, that our training in America to seek, I don't want to downplay the value. I have always had somebody getting my back because I'm not an owl. You know, as in tune as I am, I still can't see behind me. So if there's, if there's some, when I know there's something and I'm not getting to it, I'll get somebody to get my back. And so I'm not meaning at all to devalue the power of the work for people. But what I'm leaving people with is once I get them cleared and aligned and there's less noise, I'm coaching them in how to move forward and become more mindful of what the thoughts are that take them off their center and from listening to their guidance, and then the blocks that take them out of the courage to choose what will create the life that they say they want, that they're working with me for, and a mindfulness of self-sabotaging thoughts and the detachment of the mind-body connection to be able to actually make new choices from the new space created because the blocks are gone. So there is expertise that I can help with, that I help people with. One woman came to me, she was a senator in a foreign country, and she and her husband had left that foreign country, and she needed to clear her attunement to resistance because she was getting a lot of that because she was in the resistance party in this foreign country, and she was having to fight against. And so that didn't allow for an energetic flow of receiving. And so she had money blocks. She's a millionaire, and she had money blocks nonetheless. And so learning how to reorder her conditioned system that affects has been the work I've done with her, and then the mindfulness coaching to then move forward and allow herself to have what she wants. So there's expertise that make you leap happen, because I feel like we need help. Each of us needs help to clear unconscious blocks. But the mindfulness to then move forward and make choices according to what you really want, and learning how to redirect when the momentum, it's like those, remember those teeth that you'd wind up and they'd like chatter and walk on a counter? It's like the mind has this momentum from the, so even though I've cut the mind-body connection with cutting the unconscious patterns, and now they're moving forward, that mind still has momentum. And it's like, okay, so we're turning down the old momentum as you redirect neurologically. It's called neuroplasticity, as you redirect new energy focused in a new way. So it's people are expecting change to happen. Like I have a personal trainer certification. Part of the training for that was the psychology of change, which I already taken in my bachelor's program. And people expect like change to happen really instantly. And we're talking about really subtle, invisible stuff. So to see the physicalization of the change takes even longer. And people think I'm not doing it. It's not working. I'm not seeing the results yet. But this is like karmic. This is like eternal change that lasts lifetimes. And so to expect that, this is one of the funnest things to look at people, because like in the East, man, they live from like having this 5,000 year history buried on their backs. They're burning the Chinese with their emperors and their dynasties and their jade that's hidden in the mountains, and they, so there's like this sense of connection to antiquity. And over here in America, especially, we're like, yeah, we were born in 1776 and woohoo, with a melting pot, and we do what we do. And I know Europe has a bit more an understanding of its connection to history. But like you keep this continuity from Asia, and so there's a sense of time and an appreciation for the people who've gone before us, and time and pacing. Where here in America, we're just like, now, and it doesn't happen. The kinds of changes we're talking about, you can't apply consumer mentality to eternal change. So I see people get like really just sometimes really up, expecting change to happen sooner. And just as they're about to have like the breakthrough is when I see sometimes people like give up. It doesn't happen with me, but they come to me after having worked with other practitioners. I'm like people don't find me unless they're really ready to change. And I'm like the net that gets them where they bought this product, or they've tried this weekend seminar, and they go back and by Wednesday they're demotivated again. So I'm like the net. I'll get where the change has to happen, and I'll get that. And so it's like they had come to me with these frustrations of having worked on this issue before, and why hasn't it changed? And so I work with that frustration a lot to tell them pretty much what I'm telling y'all now. So
I am totally sold. I am totally sold. Just sign me up, because you have such passion.
It's good stuff.
It is incredible stuff. And I love the analogies of East versus West, because you're absolutely spot on, regarding that history. And I love that. I think it's fabulous. So I almost don't want to change from this conversation, because I'd really like to hear a little bit about your perspective on chakras. And I'm sure it's going to be just as informational as everything else.
Well, yeah. We were talking about this a little bit before the interview, right? Where I teach like a month long of weekly classes at the basic level on the chakra system, and then a month long of classes weekly at the advanced level. And that's still just the beginning. The chakras are what I have found to be, and there's a post, one of my clients actually created a quilt of the different chakras all the way down to the root. Yeah. And these are the first 7. This is before you all come in with the 8th. Which are considered to activate the 8th up as a part of the new paradigm we're moving into from 2012 to 2032. And I kept pointing to this chakra. And let me start, because the 5th in my second book, Vibrational Upgrade, A Conspiracy for Your Bliss. The 5th, to me, from having worked with the chakra system for 25 years, has really become the key chakra in the times we're in right now. So we're supposed to be from 2012 to 2032 jumping 2 dimensions. It doesn't mean that we're leaving our bodies and we're going to start flying around looking like dragonflies, but what it means is we're going to live with more of a connection to the dragonfly elemental magical energy in in our physical life, with our money flows being affected, with our doctor's visits being affected, with like bringing the sacred and infusing the physical with the sacred. That's the marriage that's happening in this time. And so what that means is, I guess, what I've heard a lot of experts say is from the first jump, third dimension to fourth. And what has to happen is the heart chakra has to open for that to happen. And then to leap the second leap is the fourth dimension to the fifth. And that's where we don't assign blame. I wanted to be careful about how I say this because I differ from every other voice I hear in this field about this. So first I'm going to give a general and then I'm going to distinguish it. We don't assign blame to anyone else for our lives. We are no longer able to say we're a victim to the economy, to our industry, to our gender, to our family, to our country. We are able to recognize our choices that we make lead to these outcomes, and therefore we're more powerful, right? Therefore, we need to tap into our guidance to recognize our power in making different choices. That's all the work I do, all the background of what leads us to be here now together, all of us, are many, many, many choices. And what about the people who will never find this summit? Many, many, many choices over here because their voices in their heads are going zzz, a different way that leads them over. Maybe they're at McDonald's or maybe they're at Starbucks or maybe they're at wherever they are, but they're not here and they haven't found you or us, you know? And so it creates a certain vibration, repeated thoughts, repeated tones of energy, then therefore in the body, that cause us to see what's available and to choose it, and that cause us to never see choices over here. I liken this a lot, like, you know, when you were single and you'd go to a party and you'd gravitate towards a certain kind of person of the opposite gender and you'd never see that other person over there, that because it's the familiar, it's the same track, and it starts with the mind and it moves energy, and the energy gets a momentum, right? So that's what we're talking about. This cuts the momentum. The fifth chakra is where we choose for ourselves to create our lives based on our guidance and our uniqueness and our magic, as you've heard examples of in my own story. Yeah, and so that doesn't mean, though, that we're responsible for everything in our lives, because this is one pain point that I love to get out there to as many people as possible. A lot of the metaphysical teachings are about saying we've created everything. I have found from examples of what I learned in Asia in my own personal life, there is like a cutting point of about 90 to 100%. That last 10%, I don't know how much it is, but there are random things. And when I say random, I mean karma is influencing what's showing up. So you can't find what block it is in you that's creating what's out here on the surface, because it's karma. And then you go into working with, okay, how do I burn off karma, which is something I have personal experience with doing. So there's a certain point where I think it gets heavy for people from like the law of attraction teachings, and God bless it. I love the law of attraction teachings, but a lot of the spiritual metaphysical teachings are like, if you get sick and you get a diagnosis, what have I done to create this? Oh my God, I made bad choices. And then they go into this whole trip, you know, of making, and it's not that way. There's random, please don't feel bad or wrong or make yourself bad or wrong. Process of taking up more ownership for what's in your life and what you're choosing and what you're not choosing. So the fifth chakra, yes, it's every chakra has a domain of life of the seven primary ones, and they rule over this domain. A chakra is a wheel from Sanskrit to English, and it turns based on if there's not blocks. If there's blocks, this wheel can't turn prana or vital life force energy in the physical region, or so mental, spiritual. That's what the intersection of, or that's the intersection at a chakra. So I can access past life information because the spiritual is part of that. Mental, mind, body, and spirit connect at the chakras. So if I have blocks, like, so if the fifth chakra is about communication, yes, you know that. I would assume that every person listening basically knows that, it would be attracted to this summit. So yes, having integrity in your communication, speaking your truth, being able to speak up for yourself, and that's huge. And I don't mean to belittle the importance of being able to speak up your true feelings, but that's what I have come to term as one level. the level that's really getting activated now is everything I just spoke about, being able to recognize so creativity is here, and it's not arts and crafts. It's the creativity from your choices that create your life, one choice after another. This is what's getting awakened now. So a lot of people are having recognizing tight necks. They're recognizing thyroid issues, the chronic throat clearing, a lot of throat infections, a lot of viral stuff in the throat, because this one is really getting activated and awakened. So we can learn how to move into this new paradigm of where we're choosing and we're recognizing our power to choose based on our guidance. So one of the things that happens at the heart chakra that the Chinese culture and the yogic culture know, but that we don't talk about a lot in the metaphysical world, is guidance isn't just the psychic guidance of the sixth chakra. It's not just about like wearing purple and getting intuitive readings. The intuition actually resides in the heart and then down in the gut where the dantian is for qigong, which is the second chakra traditionally in the chakra column. The lower, it's in personal training and in Pilates, it's the core, it's the lower part of the core. So the root chakra is your right to feel the way you feel. And if you took on issues of rejection, or mom and dad, both of them were hesitant about them being good parents or how they were going to provide for you, or let's say mom had a tooth infection while you were in her womb and she really waited because she didn't want any drugs until you were born, but she really wanted you out so she'd get the tooth pulled because it was hurting her. That's going to affect you in the womb, and you're going to feel, because it's all water and frequencies travel more than anything in water. And so you're absorbing that as your spine's developing, as your root is developing. The root chakra develops in the womb until about age 1. And it involves the spinal column too. So I'm getting advanced here, but the root chakra is your right to feel, your right to be here. So if you get born and you sense that there's hesitation about you being there, or there's been issues of rejection or abandonment or neglect, all of that gets wired into the root chakra at the foundational level, at the unconscious level. So that might show up as you not being grounded because you don't feel the right to be here. So you might have migraines, you might get vertigo, you might be dizzy, you might space out a lot, you might be spiritually inclined to learn how to pray a lot, you might connect to your angels more, you might, when you walk into a room, try and hide, or when you walk into a room, try and absorb all the negative energy to try and make up for being here because you don't feel like you have the right to be here. There's a lot of unconscious patterns that result, and that's the level that I work at. So that's the root chakra. Briefly, the second chakra, the dantian, is your right to feel the way you feel. And this isn't the instinctual body. A butterfly just fluttered by. Right? This is the instinctual body, the second chakra, and it's the let's say we followed our instincts before and they led us to something that caused us suffering, we might say, well, I listened to you before, I'm not going to listen to you again. Look what you created when I listened to you, or I was wrong, so I'm not going to listen to it. I need more factual data before I make choices. Listening to my instinct leads to this mess. And so you might shut down, right? But it's also, if you brought up a family, power through, get what needs to be done, and you don't pay attention to your feelings. And it also happens in a patriarchal society where we're taught that the external, the physicalized, what's created is more important, instead of in a matriarchal society that honors the divine feminine in a balanced way, we listen to the internal, which includes being shown how important our feelings are because they contain wisdom and guidance, and learning to value them. So it's cultural conditioning, it's parental conditioning, and it's past life conditioning. So so your second chakra might be shut down, your hips might be tighter, your back might be tighter, you might have upper reproductive issues, and you might have issues expressing your feelings in a relationship because you shut down, you don't even feel the way you feel, and you just power through life because emotions are meant to be ignored because they're irrational. Emotions aren't meant to be a source of wisdom. Right? Women used to get thrown in the West into asylums when they would start expressing their emotions in the 1800s. There's stories of it in England. It's fascinating. So it's opposed to the wisdom that comes through every cycle, every menstrual cycle, there's wisdom. There's a new recognition. It's the way our bodies are wired. So the third chakra is the soul plexus, and that's the upper abdomen, and that is a big one. It's our boundaries, but it's also our empathic equipment that picks up how other people are feeling and the energy of other people. So if we're overly absorbent of energies in the room because of different patterns in our system, some of which I talked about at the root chakra, then this is going to be excessive. And we're going to not have good boundaries. We might be in codependent relationships. We might have an anxious digestive tract. I'm really trying to go through these in a way that is brief enough, but you can understand it enough. Yeah. The third chakra also contains some of the love, is the self-confidence and the self-esteem. It's also where we manifest out into the world what we want to manifest. So the inner child is there. This is in part why my second book, Vibrational Upgrade, A Conspiracy for Your Bliss, has the subtitle it does, because the inner child's in the same chakra where we manifest out onto the physical plane what we manifest. And if there's not joy, inner child is joy. And if there's not joy with what we're manifesting, the third chakra doesn't have the energy to use to go out there and create. We are naturally wired. Anytime that there is a new step for our soul to expand or for us to grow, we get energy released in our system. And if we don't listen to that guidance or that inspiration or that enthusiasm to do this new thing, we deep press the energy. So we suppress it. So then we end up depressed. So the third chakra is, if we have joy with manifesting, it's a huge aha. So then the fourth chakra is the heart, and that's more self-care, self-nurturance is here. This is a big one with breast issues, breast cancer in the West. Self-care and self-nurturance is here. And if you don't engage in self-care or self-nurturance, you shut down the flow of vital life force energy throughout the breast tissue. And the heart chakra rules the hands. That's in brief. The heart chakra also contains resentment, bitterness, frustration, anger, and then when it becomes rage, it goes to the third chakra. So if you're holding on to old resentments, really please let it go, because it's contracting your heart. It's helping you not feel hopeful. It's helping you not feel expansive or relaxed. It could create your heart being more contracted. So it is a relationship to blood flow, which is a relationship to circulation and blood pressure. I'm not trying to say be worried if you're frustrated a lot of the time, because you probably have a physical issue, but I'm trying to show you the holistic model of the mind-body connection here so that you can actually bring yourself out of the pattern physically, because everything starts in energy first, and then thought moves the energy in one direction or another, and it takes a while before energy physically manifests. All right, so I want to say that feels like a lot. And so I feel like I want to pause here before I even talk about these.
It is amazing, the information that you can just reel off one thing after another. And I think it's fabulous information for people to get. And if people have to listen 2-3 times to be able to get it all, I think that works. How about you, Lily?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, we're really, I think I could listen to you for hours. Absolutely, Dr. Alison. If you, but we are running almost out of time, but can you give our audience maybe a golden nugget of something that they can do today to help clear, balance, and step into that space where they can actually receive information from their inner wisdom and have access to that? Give us just one gold nugget that our audience can go out and implement today.
Stop believing your thoughts.
That's awesome. That's simple.
No matter what, stop believing your thoughts, especially the ones that take you down. Why do you value that voice more than a voice that loves you and life for you? Where were you taught to downgrade yourself and to talk to yourself and allow yourself to choose less for yourself instead of being your own best cheerleader? So if a thought comes in, look at that transformation, right? If a thought comes in that brings you down and takes you into worry or fear or anger or resentment or bitterness, or I can't have that, I'm not worthy of that, I never get what I want, why listen to it? Try something else. What about just saying, okay, I hear you. I hear you. But what else is possible? it's a cognitive behavioral psychology in the West does this, and try talking back to your thoughts, especially the voice that wants to make life yuck and boring and mundane and not meaningful. Because you are meant for so much more. One at a time, redirect your thoughts.
Fabulous. Wow. Like I said, this has been an amazing conversation that we have just had with Dr. Alison Kay. Thank you so much for joining us today. Wow, you are amazing. I'm going to download your products, and I'm just really looking forward to it. I want to encourage everyone to check out Dr. Alison's website. The products that you have available are unbelievable. And can you say again, which is your favorite one that we should all pay attention to?
Thanks, Lily. Yeah, this is a life changer. The Chakra Attunement audio series. You spend less money if you get the whole series rather than go one by one. But you can go on my website and look under products and see Chakra Attunement audio series. And chakra by chakra, there's a list of what the issues are that show up in your life if you're blocked at the chakra physically, emotionally, and mentally. So you can self-diagnose and then that one chakra if you want. What I want to recommend is that you get the whole series, not only because you save money, but because there's a bigger picture going on to bring you into alignment. All of them cleared, and then you're therefore more aligned, way more guidance starts to come in, and you start to get guided by it.
All right, beautiful. Well, Dr. Alison, thank you so much for joining us today.
You two are absolutely lovely. And my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for doing what you do in the world.
Aw, thanks.
Good stuff.
I want to thank everyone for joining us today. The Enlightened Humanity Circle Spiritual Rave is an amazing opportunity for you to gain more tools to access your own information and also to master what it is to be human. And we've just had an amazing conversation with Dr. Alison Kay. She is a subtle energy expert and her credentials are outstanding. Make sure that you check out her website, and please join us next time. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.